actually, so I'm going to go back to this because actually the weirdest part of this thing was I'm on the West Coast, so I didn't even know this was happening, that a stock image of mine was being used on The Daily Show. And Jon Stewart there, what he's doing is miming giving someone a transvaginal ultrasound. So like, so friends of mine on the East Coast were like, you're on The Daily Show. And then I watch it, I'm excited to see it, and all of a sudden I see Jon Stewart going, and I was like, I feel really weird. All right, getting your weird on. I'm gonna start with a little video clip.
Yeah.
Is this good?
Yeah. Ow! Ow! Ow!
You okay? You okay?
Yeah, just move your leg. Oh, yeah.
There, yeah?
Right there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Shh. Is that you?
Okay. I'm supposed to be teaching Spanish.
Good, they're waiting for you?
Oh, they're making a diorama.
What? Hamstring. Can we please just do this tonight?
I have a temperature of 38.6 degrees. My vaginal mucus is thick and sticky.
Don't ever say those words again.
Pull it together, Steve. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Ellie, please.
Oh, what?
You're distracting me.
I'm the one you're having sex with.
Yeah, I'm trying to focus here.
I'm trying to encourage you, babe. Yeah, Steve.
No.
Steve.
La 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 la. La 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 la.
He must have been hit. People love being around him. Why would anyone?
Okay, we're good. Thank you, Mrs. Martin.
Tracy! Tracy!
You're drunk.
A little, I mean, doesn't mean we can't talk. Might even make it easier.
I told you, everything's fine.
Doesn't feel that way.
We're here at A&W for the launch of their new Buddy Burgers that start at just $1.75. Is that right?
Yes.
When do I get to try one? This is $1.75?
Yep.
Shut the front door.
Hey! Looks like Santa brought me a present too.
Does she mean the coffee or the elf? Good one, Grumpy.
House full of love. Heart full of love. House full of love. Heart full of love. We say yes to
So this is a little bit about what I do. I have a wonderful and weird job. Sometimes I get to make out with people who are not my husband at my job. Sometimes I get to pretend to be married to Joey from New Kids on the Block. Sometimes I get to sing with puppets. Sometimes I eat a bite of a burger 40 times and spit it out next to the camera so that I don't get too full before that last shot where we nail it. And sometimes I once auditioned for a commercial where I wore a cardboard box on my head the entire time. They brought me back 3 times. And I did not get the role. I did not act girl with the cardboard box on her head well enough to get the role. Some of these things are super weird. Some of them are totally ridiculous. But that's actually not really what I want to talk about. The weird parts of my job are less interesting to me than how weirdness functions in what I do. How weirdness is important to me in creativity and in doing what I do. Because I am a storyteller. And I found this quote the other day and I really love it. Stories matter. Stories are how we make sense of the world, which doesn't mean those stories can't be stupid and simplistic and full of lies. Stories can exaggerate and offend, and they always, always matter. I love this because this is really, truly, deeply how I feel about the world. And to me, it's not just that stories help us make sense of the world, but I think they help us make sense of ourselves. I think it's how we get information, how we get context, how we get structure about how to think, how to feel, how to behave, how other people are thinking and behaving when it doesn't seem to make sense to us. And I think that's really, really useful because I am interested in the big questions. I am interested in what are we doing here? What does any of this matter? What is love? Why do we behave so well sometimes and so terribly other times? Why are we so petty and also so wonderful and sweet? Who am I? How do I know that? How do I know who you are? These are the things that really matter to me, and these are the things that I think stories grapple with. They help us with that. They help us figure that out. They help us cope. They help us laugh. They help us feel less alone. And when the stories that we have, the stories that are out there in the world that we've grown up with, that we know are no longer working or aren't telling us the truth about the situation we live in or aren't helpful anymore, then we have to make new stories. A myth is a lie that conveys the truth. I love that, and I think that's what I'm looking for in stories. It's what I'm looking for when I watch TV, or when I see films, or go to the theater, when I read a book. I'm looking for truth. That's what I want to find. And I don't necessarily mean capital T truths. Like, I don't necessarily need a big theory of the universe that explains everything, although I would really love that. In my heart of hearts, that's what I deeply want. But I'm looking for, in my work, small t truths. And I'm looking for this when I go see art, too. I'm looking for moments of real human behavior, people in crisis or in a place of question or transition that feel true and resonant to me. I want to create these moments, and I want to see these moments where you can recognize yourself and others in them, and you go for a second, yeah, that's true. That's what marriage looks like, you know, or that's what it feels like to lose the love of your life. That's what grief looks like. That's what love looks like. That's what it looks like when you've gotten everything that you've always wanted, and suddenly you don't feel the way you thought you'd feel. I want to see these moments. I want to feel these moments. I want to feel true things, and I think art can do that in a different way than other things. I mean, you can get truth in lots of ways, and you should. Please do. Please go take courses, go travel, have relationships, experiences. Those are really important. But art can kind of give it to us in a different way, an experiential way, a way that kind of marries a lot of things together. So you have emotions and meaning, a beginning, middle, and end, consequences, all kind of put together in an experience that you feel in your body and in your heart and in your mind. And that's really meaningful to me. I'm really interested, Tennessee Williams, I think, says it best in The Glass Menagerie. I give you truth in the pleasant disguise of illusion. I love this. I want this. So how do you do this? How do you get this? How do you also recognize it? Because here's the thing, truth is super weird. It doesn't always look how you think it's going to look because, spoiler alert, people are super weird. And I could put all kinds of pictures up here of people doing super strange things, really ridiculous, crazy things. I thought about having my husband come up and play the clarinet, maybe naked around me, just to be weird. But that's actually not the weirdness that I'm interested in. I mean, this is fascinating, but I'm really interested in the weirdness of the ordinary. I'm interested in the day-to-day weirdness, like your particular weirdness, mine, the way the weirdness comes up in your family, in the way that emotions manifest in ways that you are not expecting and didn't plan for. These are the things that I find really fascinating. So how do you do that? Because if truth doesn't always look the way you think it's going to look, how do you find that? Well, first of all, what do I mean by that? Okay. About 3.5 years ago, my husband proposed to me. This is us about 6 or 9 months after that. We're very happy. The proposal itself took place on Main Island. It was romantic. It was beautiful. It was approaching sunset, and there were rocks. We were by the ocean. I knew that James was the person I wanted to marry. Like, there wasn't a doubt kind of in my mind. But I didn't think he was there yet. I didn't think that he was had come to the same conclusion that I had yet, so I was waiting. So the proposal came as a complete surprise. Now, if I were going to write this scene, or I was going to act in the scene, The Proposal. Here's my idea of how that would look, right? It's beautiful. The couple is walking. Maybe they share a joke, or they laugh about something. They get to this beautiful place. She looks at him. He makes a kind of awkward, fumbling attempt. Maybe pulls out the ring. She's excited. She doesn't know what to say. Maybe she starts crying and laughing. He says something really sweet, asks her to marry him. They put the ring on. Maybe it doesn't fit. You know, it's a funny moment. Maybe it's a romantic comedy. Maybe there's a moment where they almost fall in the water. They hug. The sun goes down. It's beautiful. That's my idea of how a proposal, given the circumstances, she wants to marry him. They're a good fit. They're on vacation. It's a surprise. That's what I think will happen. What actually happened is we were walking towards the ocean, and my husband is telling me about growing up there, because they used to come here on vacation. And he's saying, okay, is there anything else you really want to do this year before the end of the year? And it's December, and I'm immediately annoyed, because I'm on vacation, and it's December. I don't want to think about all the things I haven't accomplished this year. I do not want to think about all the things that I haven't done. I'm like, I don't know. I guess I would like to finish this piece of writing and do this thing. I don't ask him what he wants to do, because I'm not happy with this conversation. So he begins with, well, you know, there's actually one more thing I wanted to do this year before the end of the year. I wanted to ask the woman I love, and I immediately freeze, because now I know exactly what's happening, and I am totally panicked. And I'm looking at him, and all I can think in my head is, what's happening right now? We have not talked about marriage in a long time. Is this happening? I don't think he knows all the things I think about marriage. Have we come to an agreement on like all the things that I know that I think? I'm not wearing anything nice. I would have worn something different if I knew this was happening right now. I don't even have makeup on. There's no, like, we're leaving tomorrow. I'm not ready for this. Is there a ring in his hand? Don't look, because what if it's hideous? What if he picked out a ring I don't like? We haven't talked about rings. I can't look at it, because what if it's hideous? Then I can't say anything. That would be horrible. So now my options are to not say anything and hate it, or maybe it's wonderful, and why is this happening right now? And all I could actually say was, what? 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 Because the truth is complicated and weird and uncomfortable, and it doesn't look the way that our idea of things look, but it is also way more interesting than the idea of the proposal that I had. The same thing happened to me. I was writing a play that went up in January. It was a family drama, and there's a funeral, and the daughter's had an affair, and the father has died, and there's all these emotional moments coming out, and the family dynamics are coming out. And I was I wanted a moment where someone could connect with the mother who's deeply grieving, and maybe have a humorous moment with her, or something to share. And I was talking to my Oma, my grandmother, who had just been to the funeral of a friend of hers. Now, my Oma is in her 80s, so this woman had lived a long life. But she was standing there at the casket at the viewing, looking at her friend, and she noticed that her friend had her hearing aids in. So my Oma says to the woman's daughter, why does she have her hearing aids in? What's there to hear now, you know? and you know, the woman said, well, we wanted Mom to look like she looked in life. We wanted her to have all of her jewelry and all the things that she always wore. And so my Oma's telling me the story, and I'm clocking that. I'm like, oh, that sounds nice. That's beautiful. My Oma looks at me and she goes, those are $3,000. And I put that immediately in my play, because I can't make that stuff up. This is the thing. You know, people are complex. Life is multidimensional. There are many things going on at once, and so our characters, our art, our stories need to reflect that, or else they won't feel authentic or true, and then they won't matter. So how do we do that? We know that people can laugh in the middle of grieving. We know that people can be sexually turned on in totally inappropriate moments. You know, you can be completely cruel to a loved one who's being totally vulnerable in front of you. We do that. So how, when you're making your art, do you get that? And I would say that for me, as a writer, as an actor, as a filmmaker, I try to engage with three things that help me get there when I'm trying to show something that is human and real and will connect. The first thing is observation. Second thing is critical thinking. And the third thing is being present, open, and in my body. So observation, just watch people. People will tell you and show you the most amazing and crazy things, and it's wonderful. Almost every story I've ever written has started with somebody telling me a personal story, or I've seen a behavior that surprised me, that I thought, I don't think I would have behaved that way, or I would never have imagined that this would have followed from this. I once wrote an entire play. I used to work at Moxie's as a server, and there was another woman who worked there with me, and we were sitting outside having a glass of wine one night, and she told me about the death of her beloved cat. Now, I'm not a huge animal person, but I like animals, you know, but as she was sitting there, devastated, and this was a long time after the cat still, but she was devastated, telling me about the loss of her cat. I'm listening to her story. She had been out all night looking for him, couldn't find him, so upset in the morning, went to her washing machine to get out her wash. She had washed her cat. He had crawled in there when she wasn't looking. So she's telling me this story, and she is beside herself still in recollection because it's horrible. This is a horrible story. But I can't even look at the woman, like the friend next to us, because it's also really funny. Like, are you kidding me? And I'm sitting there with these multiple emotions at once. And I'm like, I don't know what to do with this. So I wrote a play. Observe. People will tell you things. And the same is true as an actor. I watch people so that I have information on how people behave. My husband was recently on a plane that went through a ton of turbulence. They were going to Whitehorse, and they had to be rerouted to the Northwest Territory. And it was so awful that people were really, really afraid. And as he's telling me about all the different passengers on the flight, I'm totally taking notes, right? One person could not stop talking. You know, they're talking to the person next to them about anything, doesn't matter, they just can't stop talking. One person's laughing hysterically, uncomfortably. One person starts crying. One person pretends to just keep reading. I'm just gonna read, I'm not gonna acknowledge that this is happening. And this is fascinating to me because this is real behavior. This is how people behave when they're uncomfortable or they're afraid. And so I take note of that because now when I go to a character or I go to a scene and I can ask myself, okay, this person's obviously uncomfortable in this situation. What behaviors might be appropriate for them? Are they trying to avoid? Are they trying to make everything okay? How do you do that? What does that look like? And I can use those things that I've observed. That's great for me. And then the second part of it is critical thinking. And so I'm using the things that I've observed. I'm also, using your brain, your analyzing skills, right? So as an actor, when I come to a text, whether I'm doing a play or an audition, I'm getting information from the script. What genre of story is this? What is the time period? What's the style? Who is this character? What do they want? What do other characters in the play or in the script say about this person? What does the author tell me about this person? What can I see from what they're doing that tells me the kind of person they are? Right? This is the kind of the work that I'm doing. And then what do they want? How do they try to get it? Do they get it or not get it? These are really important questions. And if I'm going for a TV thing, I'm thinking about, is this a Hallmark show? Is this a sci-fi show? Because that's going to be a different kind of thing that I have to bring to the audition. As a writer, I do the same thing. I am thinking about how I'm structuring the story. I need a beginning, a middle, and end. I need to know where my climax is. What are the conflicts? What are the obstacles? What are the things they do to accomplish their goals? And I'm going to my observation, and I'm thinking about this. And then I have a skeleton, right? That's the skeleton of my story, or the skeleton of the character the idea I have of how this story is going to go. The idea I have about the character. And that's really important. But then the third thing, which is the hardest for me, and probably for a lot of people, is now I've got to put the flesh and bones and meat and juice on the story. And that's where I have to go inside of me, where I have to be open and honest, I have to be present, and I have to get into the weird parts of myself, the messy parts, the parts that might be wrong or look stupid, because that's where the interesting things are. Right? I have to let go of the idea of the thing that I have and start to see what is actually happening. What happens when the actor across from me says those words. I thought I was going to feel charmed and turned on. It turns out I'm a little disgusted. Okay, so I listen to that, or I try to listen to that and let that out. That doesn't mean I throw away my idea. That doesn't mean that I take the scene in a totally new direction and I'm going to ignore everything that I thought about the script. It means I'm going to listen to that and let it inform that. Oh, I feel differently than I thought I would. What does that look like? Same thing when I'm writing. Now that I've got this structure, when I actually sit there and I put myself in that character's shoes, oh, this feels different. Oh, I actually have some mean things to say here. What if I let the character say them? What if I go there? And this is hard because it means you have to be vulnerable and you have to be willing to be wrong and willing to be messy, and we don't want to do that, right? I want to be right. I want to make all the right choices, and for the director to love what I'm doing, and for the casting director to pick me, and I want you watching at home to be like, wow, she's a great actor. But I can't do that if I'm playing an idea of a person, or I'm writing an idea of how I think a story goes. I have to be that person. I'm putting myself in their place, because acting is behaving truthfully under imaginary circumstances, which is really different than playing your idea of what that truth is. It's going ahead and letting yourself be there. So when I'm playing a scene that involves jealousy or grief, I'm not imagining what I think a jealous mistress looks like, or I'm not going to play my idea of the angry CEO who just never got enough love from her father. I'm going to put myself and my feelings and my experiences in the parameters of what the story needs and let that out. And that's difficult because I have to think, what makes me angry? You know, when have I been so jealous that I've said or done something that I wouldn't admit to my closest friend? When have I been so humiliated I couldn't look at anyone? Can I go there? Can I live in that place? And can I do it on set? Can I do it on stage? Can I do it in my writing? Can I show you that dark, weird, uncomfortable part of myself? And if I can't find it in myself, if I can't, in my recollection, can't find something that triggers me, then I have to do some imagination work. You know, what if? What if my father died and I didn't get there in time and I didn't get to say the one thing that I really need to say to him? What does that feel like? And you have to go there and you have to live in what that might be like, right? What are the consequences of that? What does that feel like in my body? My throat gets tight. I feel warm. My cheeks are flushing. Can I do that? Can I go to that place when I need to in the story? Can I also do that when there are 30 people on set watching me? Can I do that on stage? Can I do, as we say in acting, be private in public? And I'm not just talking about drama, I'm also talking about comedy. I mean, you gotta go to those deep, dark places there too. You gotta go to that awkward thing that happened and be able to show that to people so that they will recognize themselves and go, oh, yeah, that's true. Not for me, maybe, but someone, you know? And that's my work. That's the work that I do when I'm trying to act. Some of that is, you know, maybe you do therapy to get some insight on yourself. You do some self-reflection, honest imagination, and then I have to figure out a way to open that up and let you see me. So a big part of that for me is actually just physical relaxation. I do things like meditation. I physically relax my voice and my body so that I don't get all tense, so that if the character needs that, then I can use it when I need to, but it's the actor, Shauna, can let it go so that I can let that emotion out if that's what's appropriate. And I want my training and my meditation, my preparation, I want these things to all come together, and I have to let go of this idea that I have of being right or trying to play the character I thought it would look like and let what is actually happening be there. Can I be on stage with the other actor or on set and let go of my ideas and see what the truth of the moment is and let that play? And listen, these things that I'm trying to get rid of, some of these blocks, these fears that as an actor I'm working to let go of, they serve you really well in life. I'm not saying you should let your truth out everywhere all the time. Please, if you are in the grocery store or you are on the SkyTrain or on Facebook, you can rein it in. You do not need to let all of your truth out all the time. We have a civilized society, and a lot of things are really important that you just manage some of those instincts, right? Otherwise, we'd have mass chaos. But in art, when you're working in your work, you need to let that out. You need for that to be there, because that's how we will connect. That's how we will feel it. And if I'm doing my job, if a writer is doing their job and you're reading a novel, if an actor is doing their job, a director, a filmmaker, if they are connected to what's going on and to their scene partner, to the truth of the moment, you will feel it. You will be connected. And you'll feel it in your own heart and in your own guts and in your own weird, uncomfortable places. It will resonate with you. That's what art can do. It can make you have this experience, right? And what I'm hoping for every time is that preparation and presence will meet, and then magic will happen. Because it does. When it works like that, it's magical. I would say even sacred. It's incredible. And it doesn't happen all the time. I fail a lot. I mean, I want to be perfect. I want to be a good actor. I want to be a good writer. I want you to like me. And that gets in my way a lot. I would say that on stage, after weeks of rehearsal, and if I'm doing my relaxation and stuff, I can have those moments like 70 to 80% of the time. On film, I would say 30 to 50%, which sucks. I hate that. I'm still learning film, and I find film really difficult. There's so much more going on. You have less rehearsal, and I'm really worried about putting the glass down in the same place that I put it down last time. So I'm thinking about the glass. That's hard. That's something that I'm working on. But it's important because that's what people want. That's what I deeply want. I think it's what you deeply want. It's to be connected, to have these moments where we feel like we recognize ourselves and we recognize the truth, because that's what stories give us, and that's why they matter. And you can only do it this way, which sucks. Every time I start a new project, I think, oh yeah, now I know what I'm doing. Now I can skip the part where it's terrible and I have to go to those dark places and it's messy, but you can't. This is the only way to do it. And what I try to remember every time is a wonderful quote from Stanislavski, who's was a huge acting teacher and influence. The person you are is 1,000 times more interesting than the best actor you could ever hope to be. I try to believe that. I don't always believe that. I try to believe that. But I think you can also replace actor here with a lot of different things. For me, writer, director, but I think you can put any job or vocation or role. The person you are is 1,000 times more interesting than the best architect or HR manager, mom or husband you could ever hope to be. Because that's what we want. We want what's inside you and inside me. Like, that's what's going to give us the things we deeply crave, that will help us tell stories about ourselves and be able to cope better and laugh and feel connected. And it's going to be scary, and it's going to be weird, and it's going to be messy. But I promise you that if you want to make things that matter and that connect, that are authentic, it will also be awesome. So be awesome. Or be awful. It'll be okay, because it'll be true. Go get your weird on.
Who's got a question for Shauna? Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. My name is Yusuf. So if for example, I get my weird on through writing, through meeting people, or anywhere else, and people don't like, who I am, what do you say? Like, do you just not take it personally, just move on, or?
That's a really good question. I want to say partly don't take it personally, but how can you not, right? I mean, that's part of being creative, and because I want everybody to like the things that I do, and it sucks when somebody doesn't. But I learned something valuable myself this year about that. So the play that I did that went up in January was really popular among audiences, subscriber favorite, and the critics did not like it. And they wrote things about it they did not like. And you're not supposed to do this, but I read them during the run of the show, which I was also in. So I was acting in the show. And like the next night after I read the reviews, I was like, this sucks, I suck, this sucks. But I'm actually really glad that I read them during the run of the show, because that wasn't my experience of what the audience was feeling and what I was hearing from the audience. And if I had read them later, I might have mistrusted my own experience. And I wasn't as devastated as I thought I would be. I kind of went like, oh yeah, okay, they have a couple points, and I guess they didn't really get this part, or they don't like that. And I was really surprised to find out I didn't care as much as I thought I did, because I really loved what I made. So I don't know if that helps you. I don't think you can, if you're trying to make something that people will like, it's probably going to be boring. And you may reach no one. So I think you got to keep doing your thing. Yeah.
That was really great, thank you. I have a question about how you feel like people should move forward as creatives. What do you think is one of the biggest things that you see that holds people back, that you can just tell them to just drop, or whatever you want to, however you want to, what you think, right?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think it's what's for me is, and probably for a lot of people, is yourself. I am terrible at procrastination and resisting and not doing the things that I really want. I know that I want to make these projects or do this work, and I just don't. I avoid it, or I rationalize, and you have to. Like, this is the thing, is no one else is going to do it for you in this industry, and also no one kind of cares if you do it or not. That's devastating, but it's true. Like, no one is waiting for you to show up and give them this thing. That doesn't mean they don't want it. That doesn't mean they don't desperately need it in the world. But it's up to you. And so for me, the hardest thing is, like, you got to make stuff. And for me, opportunities have always followed that. You know, you kind of think like, oh, I'm going to get my gold star soon. I did all the things, and now somebody will just offer me this job or this great role, or, you know, and that's not really how it works. You got to keep making your stuff, and you got to keep putting yourself out there, keep working, and then those things start to happen too, but you got to keep doing that stuff. So whatever it is that you want to make or do, you kind of need to be doing it and keep doing it. Yeah. I don't know where our mic guy went.
Back here first, sorry.
Oh, he's back
sorry.
here. Okay.
I'm load balancing.
He's hovering, okay.
Hi there.
Hi.
Hey, our group thought you were amazing.
Oh,
so thank you for being here today.
You're welcome.
Quick question. How do you prioritize what you're doing? You got writer, actor, filmmaker. Like, how do you go, this is what I'm going to do now, or this is what I should be doing most of the time to make money, or how do you make a living doing one thing or the other? How do you prioritize
that? Is a really good question. I think I'm constantly figuring that out. I think I have a lot of kind of pokers in the fire, and when one gets hot, you do that for a while, and you see where it goes, and then you try to, you know, keep going with these other things, but partly you see what leads you. So I will sit down with my husband, who's also an artist, and we will kind of try to do some big picture planning. Okay, where do I want to be in a year, in 5 years? And we'll try to work backwards from that and give ourselves some deadlines for things. Deadlines, huge. So if there is a lot of the things that opportunities I've had have also been either from contests or something like that, where I said, oh, they're looking for scripts about this, I'll write one. And then now I have a deadline, I have to finish it, and even if it doesn't get chosen, now I have the script. Then I can work on it for the next thing. So I do have all these things that I want to do. Sometimes it's opportunities show up, and then I do that. And sometimes it's am I most passionate about, or what can I conceive of working on for a while? What do I need a break from? And trying to manage those things. And then how can I make money? That is also a really important question. And if you have really good answers to that, come see me. Yeah.
Thank you again for this morning. We were talking in our group about, and it came up to whether or not, it seems that you need a lot of either confidence or courage to do what we want to do, which is to express ourselves and take people on a journey with us. And is it confidence? Is it courage? And as I was going to formulate this thing, I thought, or is it stupidity?
I think it can be a bit of all of those things. I really do. And I think there's a huge contingent of fake it till you make it in this stuff. Like, And you will be surprised how many people who are what you would perceive as farther ahead of you, more successful than you, whatever, who feel just the same way you do. Yes. You know, I mean, I also try to go back and think of like what 19-year-old Shauna would think. I'm like, 19-year-old Shauna would be really impressed with some of this stuff. Why don't I feel that way? Like, why do I feel like, oh, none of it is good enough? I thought I'd be farther. I thought I'd be happier. I thought I'd be all these things. You know, who knows? There's always going to be both of those things. And I think it does take confidence and courage, probably a little stupidity or blind faith. And you do it anyway. Yeah. And then you fake it till you make it.
Well, and the point that you made earlier, which is you just make time to do it. If you don't do that, you don't get anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the hugest thing. Yeah. And that's, I think there's a great quote, I can't remember if it's Madeleine L'Engle or Annie Dillard, who says, you know, inspiration usually follows writing. It rarely precedes it. And I think that's really important, you know. It's got to find you working is one of their quotes, too. So you do the stuff, and then you'll be surprised what shows up.
I have never felt more like Merv Griffin.
I'll take box C.
Anyone else? Yeah.
You're welcome.
So when I was listening to what you were saying, it sounds like looking at, is that loud? Looking at everyone, it sounds like you have this superhuman sort of ability to empathize with people, and you get to know like their little tics or what, you know, when nobody's watching what they do. And I find myself doing that lots all the time. Mm-hmm. And I'm wondering if you have like, sometimes if you get lost sort of in empathizing with sort of everyone, and if what your process is after, if it's writing plays or like how you sort of find yourself back after being able to empathize with so many people.
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I had a therapist once tell me that I have really big feelings, which was like, seemed like news to me. And then when she said that, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. I do think that's true. I actually think one of the things I've had to work on is making sure that my empathy for other people doesn't get in the way of, especially as an actor, what my character wants and is. So for example, if my character is coming in a room, as an actor, if my character is coming in the room and she's super angry, but the person in front of her is a basket case and they're having a hard time, you know, part of me as Shauna wants to go like, oh, that's terrible, and feel those things, right? But that's not what my character is feeling right then. My character is coming in there to get something that she wants. And so in a strange way, you have to be able to empathize with a lot of different things, because being open and empathizing doesn't mean just being empathizing to the things that are kind of vulnerable and beautiful and sad. You can be empathy for the person who came, you know, stood up. And I read an article the other day where this woman she won the lottery and then she defecated on her boss's desk. And then she got arrested. But like, you got to have some empathy. I have a little bit of empathy for that. Like, what's that place in me, you know? What is that place in me that's like, yeah, fuck everyone. Like, and I would say then what I do as an actor and a writer is I try to go to those places, and then usually if I feel like I've spent it on the page or spent it on the stage, I can let it go. I don't feel like I necessarily carry it with me. It can be hard if you spend halfway through the play that I was doing in January, which was about a funeral, and my character had had an affair, and there were a lot of people who were really upset. There was a lot of things. There were days I came home and I was like, I feel like shit. This was awful to live there all day. And on stage it would be awful because the actors I was working with were fantastic, and I could see their hearts breaking, and I could see their judgment. And when I say that we're not playing an idea, you're really opening yourself up. Like they're letting that truthfully speak out of themselves, and that actually hurts. You know, when I'm on stage like that, I'm not just going like, oh, this is somebody else, I don't feel this. I'm like, I'm feeling this. This sucks. So there are days that you kind of have that. And then you go home and you make dinner and you go for a run, you take a shower, you know, and you let that stuff out. It's really, what's the word I'm looking for? Cathartic, thank you. Yes.
Okay, we're running a little over time here. So can I have somebody maybe from this area with something, with questions? Anyone up for the challenge? There we go. Can you pass that down?
Hey, thanks for speaking today. We talked a lot about the kind of vulnerability and honesty that you talked about and the fearlessness, but oftentimes in this, I talk to people like you, and they have a psychological armor they put on. Can you talk a little bit about that and what your psychological armor is that allows you to be that fearless?
I would kind of say two things. I mean, yes, I still have my kind of, I know how to behave in the world things where I kind of go like, oh, that was a horrible thing for that person to say, and I'm not going to hit them right now, right? Because my parents raised me well to like not do that. I would say part of it is I have a really wonderful partner, and that matters a lot because you have somebody who's on your side and has your back no matter kind of like how awful things may have gotten or how much somebody didn't like your work or how many roles you didn't get. And so my whole world is not there. My whole self is not there. I know things about myself that people can't take away from me. That's part of it. And then the other part is honestly less about psychological armor and more knowing I can go there and I'll be okay. I can go to that place and it will be awful and I will be okay. And I think that comes with life experience too. You know, horrible things happen to you, wonderful things happen to you, and you start to go, oh, I can live these things and survive. I don't have to hide from everything. I don't have to be as protected as I thought. And it will be awful, but I will be okay.
Thank you, Shauna.
Yeah.